I'm not by any means saying that there is some conspiracy, but I find it interesting that I logged into my main TikTok account in order to make a video talking about my experience at the Portland No Kings rally today. And while that video is uploading, I am scrolling through my FYP and I saw exactly one video covering the events around the country today. And it was from Confam, who is an Oregon elected official and a mutual of mine. And it was a picture of her at the rally. I couldn't find any, as I'm scrolling, nothing in my FYP is talking about No Kings. Loads of content about Taylor Swift and some necklace that she's selling. Content from folks who are being real weird and parasocial about that one big creator who hasn't been seen on TikTok for 3 months. I don't know, and just like a lot of weird content that is very superficial and stuff I don't normally see in my feed. Videos about like Pilates and Halloween candy and travel. Why am I not seeing any No King's Day content? If I go over to Blue Sky, it's just like a shit ton of that. By the way, this also kind of reminds me of how, at the protest at the rally downtown in Portland today, it was maybe 1 PM. We had just gotten going. There were people still trying to pour in to the waterfront area. There was a backlog of people trying to get into the waterfront. And the Oregonian was already reporting that there were estimated 40,000 people. And I'm like, who did you get that estimate from? Because after the event, I talked with the people who organized it, right? Like the lead team, and they're like, no, it was not 40,000 people. And I know that there's this pressure for news organizations to publish numbers. Like people want to know how many folks turned out, but they often release their estimates when the events haven't even really gotten underway. The latest I've heard from Portland is between 60 and 80,000 people were downtown, but that they're still kind of hashing out what exactly the turnout was. But it was definitely far more than 40,000. This is like how Axios was reporting that around 7 million people turned out for No King's Day, but they published that when events on the West Coast hadn't even started yet. They had those numbers out when there were still events going on the West Coast that had not even begun to tally their attendance. So how can you know that there were 7 million people? We've seen this like consistent, I don't want to say desire, need, consistent inaccuracy from media where they are underreporting the numbers, not only of the quantity of protests and rallies and marches and honkin' waves, etc., that are happening around the United States, but also how many people show up to those that do actually get covered by the press. I know that the regime has a vested interest in suppressing what happened here, which is weird because they were making it sound like it was a bunch of violent Antifa terrorists. I'm sure that they're also going to suppress the fact that NYPD said that there were no arrests at the New York No King's Day. I don't know if any of that happened at the Portland No King's Day. These events were overwhelmingly non-violent. How can you get millions and millions and millions of people together that the regime says are all violent agitators, and yet they're like family friendly, full of clergy and grandmas and grandpas and families with little kids and union workers. There were tons of labor folks at the event that I went to. Shout out to the ONFP that's currently striking against Kaiser. Like loads of good people that all were marching, normal, very, very normal, average, everyday Americans. So of course there's not going to be any violence. We are committed to nonviolence. We have no interest in instigating, agitating. We're just out there exercising our constitutional right to free speech, and we are letting the world know that we want a democracy. We deserve representation. We do not want Donald Trump to make himself a king in this country. And we have a right to do that. We have a constitutional right to do that. So after tons and tons of press coverage in advance of this event, where the Republicans, Mike Johnson made the circuit of all of the press being like, these are hate America rallies full of violent Marxists and Antifa thugs. But then you see actual coverage of the events. And I do understand that there's far more coverage of No Kings 2 than there was of No Kings 1. And that's a really good thing, right? We are so big and so powerful. We cannot be ignored by corporate legacy media any longer. But still, like, why the underestimation of the turnout? And also, why the fuck am I not seeing anything about it in my FYP on TikTok?